The first time Luca Moretti saw the nurse, she was standing under the flickering emergency room lights with blood on her gloves and exhaustion in her eyes. He did not recognize her at first. No one would have. Not after 22 years. Not after the little girl with scraped knees and a crooked smile had vanished from his childhood like a ghost swallowed by fire. Now she was a woman in blue scrubs, her dark hair tied messily at the back of her neck, her face pale from a 12-hour shift that had turned into 16. She moved between stretchers like her body was running on instinct alone, one hand pressing gauze to a bleeding wound, the other reaching for a monitor before it screamed. The ER was chaos. Rain hammered the windows. Sirens screamed outside. A drunk man shouted near reception. Somewhere behind a curtain, a mother was crying. Nurses rushed past each other with empty coffee cups, trembling hands, and the kind of silence that came when everyone was too tired to fall apart. Then the black SUVs arrived. 5 of them. No sirens, no flashing lights, just darkness rolling up to the hospital entrance like a funeral procession. The shouting stopped first, then the footsteps. Then the entire emergency room seemed to hold its breath. The automatic doors slid open. Men in black coats stepped inside, soaked from the rain, their faces unreadable. They did not ask for help, they did not explain. They simply parted, and a stretcher came through the middle of them. On it lay Luca Moretti, the most feared man in the city. His black shirt was torn open. Blood darkened the fabric across his ribs. His face was too calm for a man who had nearly died before reaching the hospital. Sharp jaw, dark hair plastered to his forehead. A body built like violence had shaped him by hand. Every doctor in the ER froze. Everyone knew the name. Moretti. A name spoken in lowered voices. A name connected to locked doors, missing men, police reports that went nowhere, and restaurants that paid protection money without ever being asked twice. The head surgeon took one look at him and stepped back. "I'm not touching him," he whispered. One of Luca's men turned his head slowly. The surgeon swallowed. No one moved, except the nurse. She stepped forward. Her name badge swung against her chest. Elena Carter. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "Move him to Trauma Bay 3. The room stared at her, as if she had just walked into a cage with a starving animal. "Elena," another nurse whispered. "Don't." But Elena was already pulling on fresh gloves. One of the guards blocked her path. He was tall, broad, with a scar cutting through his eyebrow. His eyes dropped to her name badge, then to her face. "You know who this is?" Elena looked past him at the man bleeding on the stretcher. "No," she said. "I know what he is right now." The guard narrowed his eyes. "A patient." Something shifted in the room. A quiet, dangerous thing. The guard stepped aside. Elena moved fast. She cut through Luca's shirt, pressed her fingers carefully near the wound, checked his breathing, ordered fluids, demanded pressure, demanded space. Doctors hesitated until her sharp glance forced them back into motion. "Chest tube ready," she said. "Now." Her voice cracked only once. When Luca's eyes opened, dark, burning, unfocused, they locked onto hers. For one impossible second, the noise disappeared. The rain, the monitors, the fear. Luca Moretti stared at Elena like some buried part of him had risen from the dead. His lips parted. Elena leaned closer, thinking he was trying to say where it hurt. But his bloody hand suddenly caught her wrist. The guards reached for their weapons. Elena froze. Luca's grip was weak.
"You
but
have
possessive,
no idea what you've
desperate.
walked into."
His eyes searched her
I
face
won't let
with
you
terrifying
intimidate me.
intensity, moving over her features like he was trying to drag a memory out of the grave. Then he whispered
I
one
know what
word.
you did,
Not her name. Not help. Not please. Lena.
and I won't stay silent.
Elena's breath stopped. No one had called
I
her
know what
that
you
since
did.
she was 6 years old.
And I won't stay
Since
silent.
the night of the fire. Since
Careful,
the night the
little
boy
nurse.
with silver eyes had
Dress
promised
like
he
that
would
can
come
be
back
very
for her.
dangerous.
Her pulse thundered in her ears. Luca's gaze sharpened through
I
the
remember
pain.
you.
And in that moment, Elena realized the dying Mafia boss on her table was not a stranger. He was the boy
They're
she had
closing
lost.
in.
The boy she
We
had
need an
cried
exit.
for. The
No,
boy
we
she
can't
had spent
wait.
her entire life
Get here
trying
now.
to forget.
What's
His
happening?
fingers
Please, I'm
tightened
scared.
around her wrist.
Stay
Then
close.
his voice
I'll protect
dropped
you.
into something colder, darker,
What's happening?
more dangerous.
Are
than
they coming
pain.
for us?
Who hurt you?
So
Elena
help us.
forgot how to breathe.
Stay
For one
right
second,
beside me.
the entire
I won't let them
emergency
touch
room
you.
fell away. The machines kept beeping. Rain kept striking the glass. Men with guns stood like shadows around the trauma bay. But Elena could only feel Luca Moretti's fingers around her wrist and hear the name he had pulled from a grave she had spent 22 years burying. Lena. No one called her that anymore. No one alive should have known it. Her throat tightened. You need to let go. Luca did not. His eyes were clouded with pain, but beneath it was something worse.
Don't come any closer.
Recognition, rage, a terrible kind of tenderness that made her stomach twist. Who hurt you? He whispered again. Elena glanced down and realized her sleeve had ridden up while she worked. There,
you can't
on the
hide
inside of her
forever,
wrist,
Elena.
was the old burn scar.
I don't hide.
A
I
pale,
endure.
crescent-shaped mark from the night
Your
her childhood
endurance ends
ended.
tonight.
She yanked her arm back so quickly, one of the monitors shifted. I'm your nurse, she
This
said,
ends
forcing steel
now.
into her voice. Nothing more. Luca
Your
stared at her.
threats mean
The
nothing.
corner of his mouth moved as if he wanted to laugh.
You can't hide the
but pain
truth
dragged
any
it into a
longer.
grimace instead.
And what truth is
Blood
that, my
darkened the
dear?
sheet beneath him. His body
you
was fighting to
orchestrated
stay
all of
alive,
this.
and still his eyes
Prove
refused to
it.
release her. You always lied badly, he breathed.
This
The
ends
words
tonight.
struck her harder than a slap.
Careful.
For a moment,
You're bleeding my
Elena
floor.
was 6 again. Bare feet on cold
Please
tile,
stop
smoke
this.
in her lungs. A boy older than her by 3 years, gripping her hand as flames swallowed the hallway behind them. Don't cry, Lena. I'll get you out, I promise. Then darkness, sirens, strange adults, a new name, a new city. A life built around pretending she had never belonged to anyone. Elena. Dr. Whitmore's voice cut through her memories. We need to move. He's crashing. She snapped back into motion, because that was what Elena Carter
Hold
did.
still, please.
She moved.
Stay with
She
me.
survived.
I'm not
She
going
worked
anywhere.
until her hands stopped shaking. She pushed the past down where it belonged and focused on keeping the monster in front of her alive. Start another line, she ordered. Pressure's dropping. Get me suction. Prep for transfusion. Dr. Whitmore looked at her like he wanted to argue, like he wanted to ask why the most exhausted nurse in the hospital was suddenly taking command over the city's most dangerous patient. But the room obeyed her. Maybe because she sounded calm. Maybe because Luca's men were watching. Or maybe because Luca Moretti, bleeding out beneath the fluorescent lights, had not taken his eyes off her once. For 36 minutes, Elena fought death with both hands. She pressed against wounds, counted breaths, changed soaked gauze, ignored the blood on her shoes, ignored the way Luca's gaze followed her even when consciousness tried to pull him under. At one point, his hand reached blindly toward her again. She caught it before anyone noticed and pushed it back down. Stop moving, she whispered. His fingers brushed hers. Weak, cold. Don't leave, he murmured. Elena's chest cracked. She hated him for that. Hated him for saying it in the same voice as the boy who had once hidden a stolen chocolate bar in her coat pocket because she had been hungry. Hated him because the whole city feared him, but for one unbearable second, she saw a child covered in ash reaching for her through smoke. I'm not leaving until you're stable, she said. His eyelids lowered. That's not what I meant. Then the drugs took him under. Only after the surgeons rolled him away did Elena realize she was trembling. She stood in the trauma bay, surrounded by bloodied gloves, torn packaging, and the heavy silence left behind by men who had almost watched their king die. The scarred guard approached her. You're Elena Carter. It was not a question. She stripped off her gloves and threw them into the bin. That's what my badge says. He studied her with unsettling precision. He called you Lena. Elena met his stare. People say strange things when they're losing blood. Not him. Then maybe you don't know him as well as you think. The guard's jaw tightened. Behind him, 2 more men watched from near the doors. Every person in the ER pretended not to listen. But Elena could feel their fear pressing in around her. She was suddenly aware of how alone she was. No family waiting at home. No husband. No one who would call if she disappeared after work. Just a tiny apartment with a broken heater, a sink full of unwashed mugs, and an old photograph hidden in a shoebox under her bed. A photograph of 2 children. A girl with scraped knees. A boy with serious eyes. Both smiling like they did not yet know the world could burn. I need to check on my other patients, Elena said. The guard stepped aside, but not before speaking in a low voice. My name is Matteo. If anyone asks you about what happened tonight, you tell them nothing. Elena gave him a tired look. I've worked emergency rooms for 9 years. People bleed, lie, scream, threaten, and die here every week. Your boss isn't as special as you think. For the first time, Matteo almost smiled. Almost. Then his expression hardened. To you he is. Elena walked away before he could see the effect those words had on her. By 5:17 a.m., the hospital had returned to its usual kind of misery. The rain softened into a gray drizzle. The waiting room filled with people pretending not to stare at the armed men posted at every entrance. Police came and left after being told very little. Administrators whispered in corners. Dr. Whitmore avoided Elena entirely. She finished her shift with blood beneath her fingernails and pain blooming behind her eyes. Her body screamed for sleep. Her mind refused. When she finally changed out of her scrubs, she sat alone in the locker room for several minutes, staring at the inside of her wrist. The scar was small now. It had once looked huge on a child's arm. She rubbed her thumb over it and told herself the same lie she had told herself for years. It means nothing. The past is dead. Luca Moretti is a dangerous man, not a memory. But when she closed her eyes, she saw him at 9 years old, standing in front of her with blood on his lip because he had fought 2 boys who stole her lunch. Back then, his name had not been Luca Moretti. At least, not to her. To her, he had been Luke. Luke, who lived in the big house behind the iron gates. Luke, whose father's men always spoke in whispers. Luke, who taught her how to pick locks with a bent hairpin because he said every girl should know how to escape. Luke, who promised that when they grew up, he would build her a house with blue shutters and a garden where nothing bad could reach them. Then the fire came, and everyone told Elena the boy had died. She had believed them because believing anything else hurt too much. Her phone buzzed. A message from the hospital scheduling system. "Can you cover tomorrow night?" Short-staffed. Elena laughed once. It came out broken. Of course. The world did not stop because childhood ghosts returned covered in blood. Rent was due. Her car needed repairs. Her student loans still ate half her paycheck, and her landlord had left another voicemail 2 days ago reminding her that compassion did not count as currency. Elena Carter was not a woman who could afford emotional collapse. She packed her bag, pulled on her coat, and slipped out through the employee exit. The parking lot was nearly empty. Dawn had not fully arrived. The sky was a bruised shade of blue-gray. Puddles reflected the hospital lights like broken pieces of glass. Elena lowered her head against the cold and walked toward her old sedan. 3 steps later, she stopped. A black car was parked beside it. Not a police car. Not hospital security. A sleek black sedan with tinted windows. Her pulse climbed. The driver's door opened. Matteo stepped out. Elena tightened her grip on her bag. "Are you following me now? I'm making sure you get home. I didn't ask for protection." "No," Matteo said. "He did." Her stomach dropped. "He's unconscious. He gave the order before surgery." Elena's mouth went dry. Matteo reached into his coat. Elena took a step back. He noticed and moved slowly, pulling out only a folded envelope. "He told me if he didn't wake up, I was to give you this." The cold slid through her coat and settled in her bones. Elena stared at the envelope. Her name was written across the front in black ink. Not Elena. Lena. Her hands refused to move. Matteo held it out. He kept it for 22 years. The parking lot seemed to tilt beneath her. Elena forced herself to take the envelope, though every instinct screamed not to touch it. The paper was old, soft at the edges, like it had been opened and folded again 1,000 times. She did not read it there. She could not. Instead, she looked up at Matteo. "What does he want from me?" Matteo's expression changed. For the first time, the dangerous stillness around him cracked, revealing something almost like pity. "He wants to know why everyone told him you were dead." Elena's heart slammed once. Hard. Then again. "What?" Matteo's eyes stayed on hers. "The night of the fire, he searched for you until his hands bled. His father dragged him away. Later, he was told your body had been found." Elena could not speak. The world became distant and sharp at the same time. Rainwater dripping from the roof. A siren crying somewhere across the city. Her own breath shaking in her chest. Matteo lowered his voice. He never believed it, not really. Elena looked down at the envelope in her hand. 22 years. She had spent 22 years thinking she had been abandoned by the only person who ever tried to save her. And he had spent 22 years thinking she was dead. A bitter laugh rose in her throat, but it turned into something dangerously close to a sob. She swallowed it down. Because Elena did not cry in parking lots. She did not cry in hospitals. She did not cry over men with blood on their hands and ghosts in their eyes. "I don't want this," she whispered. But she did not give the envelope back. Matteo noticed. Of course he did. He'll wake up, he said. Elena looked at him. The certainty in his voice unsettled her more than fear would have. And when he does, Matteo continued, every enemy who came after him tonight will know he survived. Elena's fingers tightened around the envelope. So they'll look for weakness. A chill moved through her. Matteo's gaze dropped briefly to the name written on the paper. Right now, Miss Carter, that weakness is you. Elena wanted to tell him he was wrong. She wanted to say Luca Moretti meant nothing to her, that she had saved him because she was a nurse, not because his voice had torn open an old wound inside her. That no criminal empire, no childhood promise, no dying whisper could drag her into his world. But before she could speak, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. One text message. We know who you are, Elena. Elena stopped breathing. Matteo saw her face and moved closer. What is it? Her hand trembled as she turned the screen toward him. The message glowed between them in the gray morning light. Then a second text appeared. He should have let you burn. Elena stared at the message until the letters blurred. He should have let you burn. The words seemed to crawl beneath her skin, finding every place the past had never healed. For a moment, she was no longer standing in the hospital parking lot with rain dripping from the edge of the roof. She was a little girl again, barefoot on burning floorboards, smoke clawing at her throat. Luca's small hand locked around hers as the house screamed around them. Run, Lena. Don't look back. She had looked back anyway. She had seen flames climbing the walls like living things. She had seen shadows moving through the smoke. She had heard a man shouting her name. Then everything had gone black. Elena. Matteo's voice dragged her back. His hand hovered near her arm but did not touch her. Maybe he knew better. Maybe he had seen enough wounded people to know that panic sometimes looked like stillness. Elena lowered the phone slowly. Who sent this? Matteo took the phone from her hand with careful control. His expression did not change, but something lethal entered his eyes. I don't know yet. Yet? He looked toward the black sedan. Get in the car. No. Elena. I said no. The word came out sharper than she expected. Matteo paused. She could feel him measuring her. Most people probably obeyed him before he finished speaking. Most people probably saw the gun beneath his coat, the cold discipline in his face, the terrifying calm of a man who had done violence professionally and decided survival was easier than pride. Elena had spent her entire adult life being tired, underpaid, overlooked, and underestimated. She had not survived all of that, just to be ordered around by a stranger in a parking lot. I'm going home, she said. Alone. You received a threat. I receive threats twice a week from drunk patients who think painkillers are a constitutional right. This is different. Because your boss is involved? Because they used a name almost no one alive should know. That silenced her. Matteo stepped closer, voice low. Listen to me. Whoever sent that message knows about the fire. They know about you. And if they know you matter to him, they will use you before the day is over. Elena's jaw tightened. I don't matter to him. Matteo's eyes flicked to the envelope still crushed in her hand. You don't believe that? Elena hated that he was right. A cold gust moved through the parking lot, lifting strands of damp hair from her face. Her sedan sat only 20 feet away, old and dented and familiar. The black car beside it looked like something from another world. A world of silent men, tinted windows, whispered orders, blood debts. Luca's world. She turned toward her car. Matteo moved with her. Do not follow me, she warned. Not possible. Then watch me call the police. This time, he almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. The police already know. Elena stopped. Matteo's silence confirmed the rest. The police had come. The police had left. The police had seen Luca Moretti bleeding in a hospital surrounded by armed men and decided some doors were safer unopened. Elena felt the first true pulse of fear. Not for herself. Not exactly. For the life she had built so carefully out of nothing. A small apartment, a badge, a locker, a coffee mug with a crack through the handle, a routine that hurt but belonged to her. And now, with one text message, the past had reached through 22 years and put its hands around her throat. Her phone buzzed again in Matteo's hand. Both of them looked down. A photo appeared. Elena's apartment door, taken from across the hallway. Under it, a message. You should have stayed dead. The parking lot seemed to drop out from beneath her. Matteo's body changed instantly. No panic, no wasted movement. He turned once, scanning the rooftops, the cars, the hospital windows, every shadow. Then he opened the sedan door. Inside. Now. This time Elena did not argue. She slid into the back seat, still gripping the old envelope so tightly the paper bent beneath her fingers. Matteo got in front, spoke rapidly into his phone in Italian, and the car pulled away from the hospital before she had even fastened her seatbelt. The city outside blurred through rain-streaked glass. Elena sat rigid, her knees pressed together, her pulse beating in her throat. "Are they at my apartment?" she asked. "We're checking." "That is not an answer. It's the only answer I have." She turned toward the window, swallowing hard. Her reflection looked back at her pale face, tired eyes, hair coming loose, a woman who had not slept in almost 20 hours and had somehow become the center of a war she did not understand. "I need to go there," she said. "No. My things are there." "No. My life is there." Matteo looked at her through the rearview mirror. "Not anymore." The words landed softly. That made them worse. Elena's chest tightened. "You don't get to say that." "I know." "No, you don't. You don't know anything about my life. I know a man just sent you a photograph of your front door." Her hands clenched. "Then call whoever you people call and make him stop. That's what we're doing." "No, you're kidnapping me. I'm keeping you alive. I didn't ask you to." Matteo's gaze stayed steady in the mirror. Neither did he. Elena knew who he meant. Luca. Even unconscious, he filled the car like a storm. She hated him for it. She hated the way his name changed the air. Hated the way his memory made her chest ache. Hated that one look from him had reached past every wall she had built and found the little girl still waiting in the smoke. The car turned away from her neighborhood. Elena sat forward. "Where are you taking me?" "A safe location." "No." "Elena, I am not going to some mafia house." Matteo said nothing. Her stomach dropped. "Oh my God. It is secure. It is insane. It is necessary." "No. Necessary as sleep. Necessary as coffee. Necessary as finishing my rent payment before my landlord adds another late fee. This is not necessary." The driver glanced once in the mirror, then quickly looked away. Matteo's voice softened, just slightly. "Your apartment is compromised. Your phone is compromised. Someone tied to the attack on Luca knows you exist. Until we know who, you stay where we can protect you." Elena laughed under her breath. It sounded wrong, thin and cracked. "You say that like protection from men like you is a gift." Matteo did not answer. That too was an answer. The city changed as they drove. The hospital district disappeared behind them. The streets widened. Storefronts gave way to old stone buildings, private gates, silent properties hidden behind high walls. Money lived here. Not loud money, not new money. The kind that bought silence for generations. Finally, the car turned through iron gates, guarded by men with earpieces and expressionless faces. Elena stared. The Moretti estate rose through the rain like a dark cathedral. Black stone, tall windows, ivy crawling up one side, warm light burning behind curtains, beautiful in the way a blade could be beautiful, dangerous because someone had polished it. The car stopped beneath the covered entrance. Before Elena could open the door herself, a man outside did it for her. She did not move. Matteo stepped out and waited. "Elena, I'm not going in there." "You are." She looked up at him. For the first time since the hospital, anger burned hotter than fear. "You people really don't understand the word no, do you?" Matteo's expression hardened. "I understand it. He won't." The honesty stunned her. Then another voice spoke from the doorway. "That is because my son has always been a fool when it comes to that girl." Elena turned. An older woman stood beneath the archway, wrapped in a black silk robe, her silver hair pinned perfectly at the nape of her neck. She was beautiful in a severe, untouchable way, with sharp cheekbones and eyes that looked as if they had buried more secrets than most people could survive. The men around her lowered their heads. "Not much. Just enough." Matteo's posture changed. "Signora Moretti." Elena's blood ran cold. Luca's mother. The woman studied Elena from head to toe. Not kindly. Not with surprise. With recognition. "You have her mother's eyes," she said. Elena went still. "My mother died when I was a baby." The woman smiled faintly. "No, child. Your mother disappeared when you became inconvenient." Elena felt the words strike somewhere deep. Matteo turned sharply. "Signora." She lifted one hand, silencing him without looking. Elena Carter, she continued, tasting the name like an insult. Such a clean little American name for a girl born into blood. Elena stepped out of the car slowly. Rain misted the stone steps behind her. Her legs felt unsteady, but she forced herself upright. I don't know what you're talking about. The older woman's gaze dropped to the envelope in Elena's hand. Of course you don't. They made sure of that. Elena's fingers tightened around the paper. They? The woman's smile vanished. Before she could answer, a phone rang inside the house. Matteo looked down at his own device. His face changed. Elena's apartment was breached. Elena's stomach twisted. What does that mean? Matteo's jaw locked. Someone broke in before our men arrived. My neighbor, Mrs. Albright, lives across the hall. Did they hurt her? We're checking. That is not enough. She moved toward him, panic cutting through her exhaustion. She's 73. She feeds my cat when I do double shifts. You have to make sure she's safe. Matteo spoke into the phone, issuing orders. Elena turned back toward the car. Take me there. No. Take me there right now. You cannot go near that building. My cat is there. Matteo blinked. For the first time, he looked almost human. Your what? My cat. Her voice shook. His name is Milo. He hides under the bed when strangers come in. If someone broke in... Elena. No. Don't Elena me. I don't care about your rules. I don't care about your boss. I don't care about this house or your guns or whatever war you think I'm part of. My cat is in that apartment. Silence fell. The men by the doorway stared at her as if she had declared war over a teacup. Then the older woman laughed. Softly. Coldly. Oh, Luca will ruin cities for this one. Elena's head snapped toward her. What? The woman's amusement faded into something darker. My son built an empire out of grief. Do you know what happens when grief discovers it was lied to? Elena could not answer. The woman stepped closer, her perfume expensive and sharp, like roses left too long in a locked room. Men like Luca do not love gently. They do not remember gently. They do not forgive gently. Her eyes narrowed. And now every enemy he has will wonder why he whispered your name with blood in his mouth. Elena felt suddenly exposed, like every scar on her body had been placed under a spotlight. I didn't ask for any of this. No, the woman said, but you survived long enough for it to find you. Matteo ended his call. Mrs. Albright is safe. She was out walking her dog. Your cat is alive. Our men found him in the kitchen cabinet. Elena closed her eyes so fast tears nearly escaped. She swallowed hard. Bring him here. Matteo hesitated. Now, she said. He gave a curt nod to one of the men, who immediately left. Only then did Elena realize she had just given an order inside the Moretti estate and been obeyed. The older woman noticed too. Her eyes sharpened with interest. Come inside, Elena. I don't want to be here. That makes you the only honest person in this house. Elena looked at Matteo. He said nothing. The rain thickened behind them, blurring the gates, the driveway, the world she understood. She stepped inside. The foyer was massive, all black marble and warm gold light. A chandelier hung above like frozen fire. Oil paintings lined the walls, men in dark suits, women with severe faces. Children posed like heirs instead of children. One portrait made Elena stop. A boy stood beside an older man, 9 years old. Dark hair, serious eyes. Small hand curled into a fist at his side. Luke. Herr Luke. The ache in her chest was so sudden she nearly reached out. The older woman watched her. You remember him. Elena lowered her hand before it touched the frame. I remember a boy, she said quietly. Not this. No one is born this. The woman's voice lost its cruelty for half a second. Some are made. Elena turned. Who made him? A shadow passed through the woman's eyes. Then it disappeared. Everyone. Before Elena could ask more, footsteps echoed from the hall. Fast. Urgent. A younger man appeared, breathing hard, a phone in his hand. Matteo. Matteo took the phone. A video was playing. Elena could not see clearly at first. Just shaky footage. A dim room. Her apartment. Drawers ripped open. Her mattress slashed. Clothes thrown across the floor. Then the camera moved to the wall above her bed. Something had been written there in red paint. Or something that looked too much like blood. Bring her back to the ashes. Elena's vision blurred. Matteo cursed under his breath. The older woman went perfectly still. Elena looked from one face to the other. What does that mean? No one answered. What does it mean? She demanded. The older woman's face had gone pale beneath her composed mask. Matteo's eyes shifted away. Elena stepped toward him. "Tell me." A voice came from behind them. Low, rough, alive. "It means the man who burned your house down knows you survived." Elena turned so fast the room spun. At the top of the staircase stood Luca Moretti, barefoot, pale, shirtless beneath an open black robe, bandages wrapped around his ribs and chest. One hand gripped the railing, knuckles white. He looked like death had tried to claim him and failed because it was too afraid to insist. His dark eyes found Elena. Everything in the room vanished again. The men, the marble, the storm. He looked at her like she was the only thing still holding him upright. "Elena," Matteo said sharply. "He should not be standing." Luca ignored him. His gaze dropped to the old envelope in her hand. Then to her face. "Did you read it?" Elena could barely speak. "No." Pain moved across his expression, so quick she might have imagined it. "Good." Her fingers went cold. "Why?" Luca descended one step. Matteo moved forward. "Boss." Luca stopped him with a look. Even wounded, even half dead, he owned the room. Elena hated how everyone felt it. She hated how she felt it too. "Why shouldn't I read it?" she asked. Luca reached the bottom of the stairs slowly. Every step cost him. His breathing was controlled, but his skin was slick with sweat. He should have been unconscious in a hospital bed, surrounded by tubes and doctors. Instead, he stood in front of her, like a man dragged back from hell by one name. "Harris." "Because when I wrote that letter," he said, voice rough, "I still believed I was the reason you died." Elena's heart twisted. Luca's eyes darkened. "And now I know I was the reason they came back." Elena stared at Luca, as if he had spoken in a language she almost understood, but was too afraid to translate. The Moretti foyer had gone completely silent. Even the storm outside seemed to hold its breath against the tall windows. Luca stood at the bottom of the staircase, one hand pressed against his bandaged ribs, his face pale beneath the bronze of his skin. He looked impossible, too wounded to be standing, too powerful to fall. Blood had seeped faintly through the white bandages wrapped around his chest, but he did not look down. He only looked at her. Like pain was nothing. Like death was nothing. Like Elena was the only wound he could feel. "What do you mean?" she whispered. His jaw tightened. "Luca," Matteo said carefully, stepping closer, "you need to sit down." Luca's gaze did not leave Elena. "Not until she knows." His mother's voice cut through the room like a blade. "This is not the time." Luca turned his head slowly. The look he gave her made Elena's skin prickle. "I have waited 22 years, he said. "Do not tell me about time." The older woman's face hardened, but she said nothing. Elena looked between them, her pulse rising with every second. There was something beneath their silence, something rotten, something old, something that had lived in this house long before she walked through its doors. Her hand tightened around the envelope. "You said you were the reason they came back," she said. "Who are they?" Luca's eyes returned to her. For the first time, she saw hesitation. Not fear. Guilt. The kind that had been eating a man alive for years. "When we were children," he said, "my father made a deal with a family called the Varricks." Matteo went still. The name changed the air. Elena felt it immediately. Every guard in the room reacted without moving. A shift of shoulders, a tightening of hands, a quiet readiness, as if the walls themselves had heard something dangerous. Luca continued. "They were old money, political money. They did not run the streets like us. They owned the men who pretended to clean them." Elena swallowed. "What does that have to do with me?" Luca's expression darkened. "Your mother worked for them." Elena's breath caught. "No." The word came out automatically. Not because she knew it was false. Because she needed it to be. Luca took one slow step toward her. "Her name was Mara Vale." Elena shook her head. "My mother's name was Caroline Carter. That was the name they gave her after she ran." The foyer tilted slightly. Elena reached for the edge of a marble table behind her, grounding herself with the cold surface beneath her palm. "No," she said again, weaker this time. Luca's mother watched her with unreadable eyes. "She was never supposed to have you," Luca said quietly. "Not with him." Elena looked up. "With who?" Luca's silence was answer enough to terrify her. Her heart began to pound painfully. "With who, Luca?" His eyes burned into hers. "My father's brother." The words landed like a gunshot. Elena stopped breathing. For a moment, she heard nothing. Not the rain, not the low murmur of men in the hall, not even her own pulse. "My father," she whispered. Luca said nothing. Elena backed away from him. "No, no, that's not possible. Elena, don't call me that." He flinched. It was small, almost invisible, but she saw it. Good, she thought wildly. Let it hurt. Let something hurt him the way this hurt me. "My father was a mechanic," she said. "He died before I could remember him. That's what I was told." "That was the story they gave you. Who gave it to me?" Luca's eyes shifted. Not to Matteo. Not to the guards. To his mother. Elena turned slowly. The older woman stood with perfect posture beneath the chandelier, hands folded in front of her as if she were receiving guests for dinner, instead of watching a woman's entire life collapse on black marble. Elena's voice dropped. "You knew." The woman's face did not change. "I knew enough." "Enough?" The word cracked out of Elena, with a sharpness that made one of the guards glance away. "You knew my mother wasn't who I was told she was. You knew I had family. You knew I was alive." Luca's mother lifted her chin. "I knew a child had been taken from the fire." Luca's head turned. The room seemed to freeze. "What did you say?" he asked. The older woman's mouth tightened. Elena looked at Luca. His face had changed. The pain was gone. Or rather, it had become something else. Something colder. Something terrifying. "You knew she survived," Luca said. His voice was quiet. Too quiet. Matteo took one cautious step forward. "Boss." Luca ignored him. His eyes stayed on his mother. "You looked me in the face," he said, each word carved from ice, "while I buried an empty coffin." Elena's stomach turned. An empty coffin. The phrase hit her with horrifying clarity. Luca had not just been told she died. He had mourned her. He had buried her. His mother's composure finally cracked, just slightly. "You were a child? I was 9. You were my son. I was hers too." The words tore through the room. Elena felt them in her chest before she understood why. Luca stepped closer to his mother, wounded body trembling with restraint. "You knew. I suspected. Do not insult me." The chandelier light sharpened the angles of his face. He looked nothing like the dying man on Elena's hospital table now. The man whose name made powerful people lower their voices. His mother finally looked away first. That was when Elena knew. It was true. Luca gave a humorless smile. 22 years of grief had just found a target. "Why?" he asked. The older woman's expression hardened again, as if softness had been a mistake she refused to repeat. "Because if you knew she lived, you would have burned the world down trying to find her." Luca's answer was immediate. "Yes. And you would have died before you turned 10. Silence crashed after the words. The woman's eyes shone now, not with tears, but with something darker. Memory. Fear. A mother's cruelty dressed as survival. "The Variks wanted her bloodline erased," she said. "They wanted Mara dead. They wanted the child dead. They wanted every loose thread tied off before your father could use the girl as leverage." Elena's voice barely worked. "Leverage for what?" The woman looked at her. "For the only thing men like them truly fear." Elena waited. Luca answered instead. "Proof." Elena turned back to him. His eyes were locked on the envelope in her hand. Her fingers loosened. The old paper trembled. "What proof?" she whispered. Luca reached toward her, then stopped himself before touching her. "That letter was not only from me." Elena looked down at it. Suddenly, the envelope felt heavier than paper should. "When I wrote to you," Luca said, "I hid something inside it. Something my father's brother gave me the night before the fire. I was too young to understand. I thought it was a lucky coin." His mouth tightened. "It wasn't." Elena's pulse hammered. "What was it?" "Ah, okay." The words seemed to echo through the foyer. His mother's face went pale. Matteo cursed softly in Italian. Elena stared at the envelope, as if it had become a living thing. "A key to what?" Luca's voice dropped. "To a vault that contains everything the Variks killed to protect." Elena wanted to throw the envelope across the room. Instead, she held it tighter. Because some terrible part of her already knew the truth. This was why they had come back. Not because Luca remembered her. Not because of childhood love. Not because of some tragic romance dragged out of smoke and blood. Because she had been carrying a secret since childhood, hidden inside a letter she had never even known existed. Her entire life had not been an accident. It had been a cover story. A cage built with fake names, fake grief, and silence. Elena looked at Luca. "Did you know when you gave it to Matteo?" "No." "Did you know I had it?" "No." Did you bring me here because of the key? His face darkened. No. Then why? The question hung between them. Simple. Impossible. The room waited. Luca's gaze moved over her face, and for one unbearable second, the violence, the empire, the blood, the danger, all of it fell away. He looked almost like the boy from the photograph. Almost. Because I heard your voice in the hospital, he said, and for the first time in 22 years, I wanted to live. Elena's throat closed. She hated how much that hurt. Hated how much she wanted to believe it. Hated that the little girl inside her, the one who had waited in every foster home and every dark bedroom for someone to come back, whispered, he did. He came back. But he had not come back as Luke. He had come back as Luca Moretti, a man wrapped in blood and power. A man whose enemies had already broken into her apartment. A man whose love, if that was what this was, looked like armed men and locked gates. Elena looked away first. No, she whispered. Luca's jaw tightened. No what? No to all of it. She lifted the envelope. No to the key. No to your war. No to being dragged into whatever nightmare your family created. His eyes sharpened. My family did not create all of this. You just said your father did, and yours helped. The words struck her across the face without a hand being raised. Elena went still. Luca's expression changed instantly. Regret flashed through him. Lena, I told you not to call me that. Her voice was low now, dangerously calm. I saved your life because that is my job. I came here because someone threatened me, but do not mistake my fear for permission to own me. The guards did not move. Matteo's eyes lowered. Luca watched her with something almost like pride beneath the pain. That made her angrier. Do not look at me like that. Like what? Like I'm becoming something you wanted. His face softened in a way that frightened her more than his dominance had. You were always brave. No, I was abandoned. The words came out before she could stop them. The room seemed to breathe in. Luca froze. Elena's chest rose and fell too fast, but now that the words were out, she could not drag them back. I waited, she said, her voice shaking. Do you understand that? After the fire, after the hospitals, after the strangers. I waited for you. I thought if anyone would find me, it would be you. Luca looked like she had put a knife beneath his ribs and turned it. I searched. I was 6. I searched until they locked me in my room. I was 6, she repeated louder now. I didn't know about Variks or vaults or bloodlines or Mafia deals. I only knew you promised. His breathing changed. Pain cut across his face, deep and raw. Elena stepped closer, tears burning now despite every attempt to stop them. You promised you would come back. Luca's eyes shone darkly. I know, and you didn't. His voice broke. I know. That was the worst part. He did not defend himself. He did not explain. He did not command, or threaten, or silence her. He stood there, bleeding through bandages, powerful enough to terrify a city, and accepted the wound she gave him. The ache in Elena's chest became unbearable. She turned away before the tears could fall. The front doors opened behind them. Cold rain swept into the foyer. 2 Moretti men entered fast, one carrying a gray cat wrapped awkwardly in a towel. Milo, Elena breathed. The cat gave a furious, offended meow. Something inside her finally cracked. She crossed the room and took him carefully into her arms. Milo clung to her coat, damp and trembling, and Elena pressed her face briefly into his fur. For that 1 second, she was not a bloodline, not a key, not Luca Moretti's lost childhood love. Just a tired nurse, holding the only creature in the world that belonged to her. Then the man who had brought Milo spoke. We found something else in the apartment. Matteo turned. What? The man glanced at Elena, then at Luca. In the wall behind her bed, hidden behind an old air vent. Elena's brows drew together. I never put anything there. The man held out a plastic evidence bag. Inside was a burned photograph. Elena stared. 2 children stood in front of a garden gate. A girl. A boy. Her and Luca. But that was not what made the room go silent. Behind them stood a woman Elena had never seen clearly before. Dark hair, soft mouth, fierce eyes. Her mother. And beside her, half hidden by shadow, stood a man with Luca's same bone structure. Not Luca's father. Someone else. Elena looked at the photograph, then at Luca. His face had gone cold. Too cold. Who is he? She asked. Luca did not answer. His mother did. For the first time her voice trembled. That is your father. Elena's heart pounded once. Then the older woman finished, "And he is the man who betrayed Luca's father to save you." The room exploded into movement. Matteo reached for his weapon. The guards turned toward the doors. Somewhere outside the estate gates, a distant blast tore through the storm. The windows shook. Milo hissed violently in Elena's arms. Luca moved toward her instantly, wounded body forgetting pain. "Get down." Another explosion thundered, closer this time. The chandelier above them swayed. Glass shattered somewhere deep in the house. Elena stumbled back, clutching Milo against her chest. Luca caught her with one arm and pulled her behind him. The heat of his body surrounded her. His bandages were bleeding again. His breath was ragged, but his voice, when he spoke, was calm enough to terrify. "Matteo." "Yes, boss." Luca's eyes burned toward the gates. "Lock the house." Elena looked past his shoulder, heart racing, as red emergency lights flashed across the black marble. Luca's hand closed around hers. Not gently, not cruelly, like he had lost her once and would tear apart heaven before losing her again. Then his mother whispered the words that turned Elena's blood to ice. They found the key. The first shot came through the east window. Glass exploded across the black marble floor in a glittering storm. Elena ducked instinctively, clutching Milo against her chest as Luca's arm locked around her waist and dragged her behind the base of the staircase. His body hit the wall hard. He swallowed the pain without a sound, but Elena felt the violent tremor pass through him. "You're bleeding," she gasped. "I've been bleeding all night." That is not reassuring. Another shot cracked through the foyer. A guard near the front doors went down with a grunt. Elena flinched, but Luca did not. His eyes were no longer the eyes of the boy from the photograph. They were cold, calculating, terrifyingly awake. He scanned the broken windows, the entry points, the movement of his men. Even half-dressed, barefoot, and wounded, he controlled the chaos with a glance. "Matteo," he said. "North wall breached," Matteo answered from behind a marble pillar, gun already drawn. 3 vehicles outside the perimeter. Maybe more. Luca's jaw hardened. "Get her below." Elena's head snapped toward him. "No." His gaze cut to her. "Elena." I said no. "This is not a discussion. It became one the second you tried to move me like furniture." A bullet struck the pillar above Matteo's shoulder, spraying stone dust into the air. Luca shoved Elena lower, shielding her with his own body. She felt the heat of him, the damp bandages against his skin, the terrifying strength still left in him, despite the fact that he should have been unconscious in a hospital bed. Milo hissed furiously from inside the towel. Elena's hands shook around him. Not from weakness, from fury. "My apartment was destroyed," she said, voice low and sharp. "My life was dragged into your war. Someone broke into my home and wrote threats on my wall. Now your house is being attacked, and you still think I'm going to let you hide me in a basement without telling me anything?" Luca stared at her. The world exploded around them. Men shouted in Italian. Footsteps pounded across the second floor. Somewhere down the hall, security alarms began to scream. But between Luca and Elena, there was only silence. Then his mouth tightened. "You want the truth?" "Yes. The truth is, if they take you, they won't kill you first." Elena went cold. Luca leaned closer, his voice dropping into something almost gentle. "They will hurt you until I give them the key. Then they will hurt you more, because they will want to know what else you remember." "I don't remember anything." "You remember enough." "No, I remember fire. I remember smoke. I remember your hand. I remember waking up alone." Something broke through his expression. For half a second he looked ruined. Then the Mafia boss came back. "That is exactly why you go below." He turned to Matteo. "Now." Matteo moved toward her. Elena pulled back. Luca's patience snapped. With a swift motion that made him grimace, he took Milo from her arms and handed the cat to Matteo. "What are you doing?" Elena demanded. "Making sure you follow." "You manipulative." "Yes," Luca said. "Move." She hated him. In that moment, she truly hated him. Hated his control, his certainty, his ability to understand exactly what mattered to her and use it without hesitation. But when Matteo carried Milo toward the hidden corridor beneath the staircase, Elena followed. Because Luca knew she would. And she hated him even more for being right. The wall behind the staircase opened into a narrow passage Elena never would have seen if the house had not revealed it. Warm chandelier light disappeared behind them, replaced by cold strips of emergency lighting along stone walls. Matteo moved ahead with Milo tucked securely under one arm, weapon in his other hand. Elena looked back once. Luca was behind her, one palm against the wall, breathing shallowly. You can barely stand. I can stand. Barely. His eyes flicked down the corridor. Keep walking. Nurse's orders. Sit down before you collapse. Boss's orders. Survive first. This is exactly why patients hate you. His mouth twitched. It was so brief, she might have imagined it. Then another blast thundered above them, and dust fell from the ceiling. Elena stumbled. Luca caught her wrist. Not hard this time. Not like ownership. Like instinct. Her heart betrayed her with one painful beat. She pulled free. His eyes darkened, but he let her go. The passage opened into an underground safe room that looked nothing like a basement. It was built like a war bunker dressed as a luxury library. Steel doors, surveillance screens, dark wooden shelves, a long table covered with maps, phones, weapons, and medical supplies. At the far end, a narrow corridor led deeper into the estate. Matteo placed Milo on a leather chair. The cat immediately scrambled under it and glared at everyone like he intended to testify against them later. Elena dropped to her knees and checked him quickly. He's shaking. He has good instincts, Matteo said. Elena shot him a look. Luca entered last. The steel door sealed behind him with a heavy mechanical lock. For the first time since the explosion started, the noise above became muted, distant, like thunder trapped in another world. Elena stood slowly. Her body finally realized how exhausted it was. Her knees threatened to fold. Her head ached. Her hands were still stained faintly pink from Luca's blood, even after she had washed them at the hospital. Then she saw his bandages. Fresh red had spread across the left side of his ribs. She forgot her anger for half a second. Sit. Luca's gaze moved to her face. I'm fine. Elena laughed once, cold and humorless. You have blood loss, recent surgery, possible internal damage, and the emotional restraint of a loaded gun. Sit down. Matteo coughed into his fist. Luca's eyes narrowed. Elena pointed to the chair. No. For one impossible second, nobody breathed. Then Luca Moretti, feared ruler of the city's underworld, sat down. Matteo looked away like witnessing obedience from his boss was somehow indecent. Elena grabbed the medical kit from the table and moved toward Luca. He watched her with unsettling stillness as she opened gauze, scissors, antiseptic, fresh dressings. The bunker lights sharpened every feature of his face, the strong nose, the hard jaw. The faint scar near his eyebrow she did not remember from childhood. The exhaustion buried beneath all that dominance. She reached for his robe. He caught her wrist. Elena froze. Luca's thumb brushed once over her pulse. Too intimate. Too quiet. Ask, he said. Her brows drew together. What? If you want to touch me, ask. A bitter smile curved her mouth. That's rich coming from the man who ordered me into an underground bunker. His gaze did not move. Ask anyway. Something in his voice changed the air. Not command. Restraint. Elena understood too late. This was not about power. It was about the hospital. About his hands grabbing her wrist while half-conscious. About years of memory crashing into blood and fear. About a man trying, badly, to offer the only apology he knew how to make. Her anger softened at the edges. Just enough to hurt. I need to check your wound, she said quietly. Luca released her immediately. Then check it. Elena swallowed and opened the robe. Her fingers were professional. Her pulse was not. The bandages clung to his skin. She peeled them back carefully, jaw tightening when she saw the damage. The wound had reopened slightly. Not catastrophic, but bad enough. You're an idiot, she muttered. I've been told. By people who lived? Not always. She looked up sharply. Luca's face remained unreadable. Elena pressed gauze to the wound harder than necessary. He did not flinch. Do not joke about killing people while I'm stopping you from bleeding. That was not a joke. That's worse. His eyes studied her face. You're angry. I'm exhausted. You're scared. I'm practical. You're shaking. I haven't slept. You hate me. Her hands stilled. The bunker seemed to quiet around them. Matteo had moved to the surveillance screens, pretending not to listen. Luca's mother stood near the table, silent as a shadow, watching everything with guarded eyes. Elena resumed cleaning the wound. I don't know you well enough to hate you. Luca's gaze sharpened. You knew me once. I knew a boy who promised me blue shutters and a garden. His throat moved. Elena did not look up. I don't know the man who uses people's pets as leverage. Your cat is alive because my men went into a compromised building under threat. I know. Then say thank you. Her eyes flashed to his. Thank you for rescuing my cat after your life made him a target. Matteo murmured something in Italian. It sounded like a prayer. Luca's mouth curved faintly, but the expression vanished almost instantly. You always fought like this. I was 6. You were terrifying at 6. Elena tightened the fresh bandage around his ribs. Good. For a moment their faces were too close. She could see the faint silver in his dark eyes now. Not silver exactly. Gray around the edges, like stormlight. Luke's eyes. Her chest constricted. Luca noticed. Of course he did. His voice softened. You remember. Elena pulled her hands away. I remember fragments. What fragments? The fire. His expression darkened. Before that. She turned to throw the bloody gauze into a bin. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Everything matters to you when it helps you control the room. The words struck. Not visibly. But she felt them land. Luca looked down at his hands, then back at her. When I was 9, I had nothing I could control. Not my father, not my house, not the men who came in and out of it, not the blood on the floor, not the way adults lied. His voice lowered. But I could control whether you were hungry. I could control whether boys twice your size learned not to touch you. I could control whether you smiled when everything around us was ugly. Elena's throat tightened. That was not control, she whispered. No? That was care. Luca's eyes held hers. The silence between them became dangerous in an entirely different way. Then his mother spoke. Care is how men like him justify obsession. Elena stepped back. Luca's face went cold. Leave. His mother did not move. We are under attack in our own home. This is not the time to play tragic lovers. Leave, Luca repeated. The older woman's eyes hardened. You nearly died tonight because you were distracted. I nearly died because someone inside our circle gave Varric men my route. Matteo turned from the monitors. His mother went still. Elena looked between them. Inside your circle? Luca's gaze stayed on his mother. Only 5 people knew I was changing cars after the meeting. His mother's lips pressed into a thin line. You think I betrayed you? I think you lied about Elena for 22 years. I lied to keep you alive. You lied to keep me useful. The words hit his mother like a physical blow. For the first time, Elena saw something like grief in the older woman's eyes. Then it hardened into pride. You think love would have saved you? She asked. Love made your uncle reckless. Love made Mara run. Love put that child in the fire. Elena's blood chilled. What did you say? Luca stood too quickly. Elena caught his arm on instinct. Sit down. He did not. His eyes were locked on his mother. What do you know about the fire? The older woman's silence turned the room colder. Matteo stepped away from the screens. Signora. She looked at him sharply. Do not. But it was too late. Luca saw. The quiet flicker of guilt. The hesitation. His voice dropped. Matteo. Matteo's jaw flexed. I was a child then, he said. But my father worked security at the estate. He heard rumors. What rumors? Elena asked. Matteo looked at Luca before answering. That the fire was not supposed to happen that night. Elena's stomach twisted. Luca's hands curled into fists. Matteo continued carefully. The Varrics wanted Mara taken. They wanted Elena taken. They wanted the key recovered. But someone warned Elena's father. He moved them early. Everything went wrong. Luca's mother closed her eyes. Elena felt cold spread through her body. My father tried to save us. Yes, Matteo said. And Luca's family? No one answered. Elena looked at Luca. His face had turned to stone. Did your father know? She whispered. Luca's silence was terrible. Then his mother answered for him. His father ordered your father watched. Elena took one step back. Luca turned on his mother. Enough. No, Elena said. Let her speak. Elena. No. Her voice cracked through the bunker. Everyone keeps deciding what I should know. Everyone keeps hiding pieces of my life like I'm too fragile to survive the truth. I survived the fire. I survived foster homes. I survived being alone. I can survive your family's secrets. Luca looked at her. Something like admiration passed through his eyes. His mother's gaze softened for the first time. Only slightly. Elena's father, Dante Vale, betrayed both families, she said. He stole evidence from the Varrics. He planned to expose their judges, their senators, their banks, their police connections. He hid the vault key with Luca because no one would search a child. Elena's mind raced. The letter, the key, the fire, her fake name. My mother ran with me because of that evidence. Yes, and the fire. The older woman looked away. The Variks sent men to recover what Dante stole. Your father fought them. Mara tried to get you out. Luca found you before anyone else did. Elena's eyes burned. She turned to Luca. He was staring at the floor. A memory seemed to pass over his face, dark and brutal. I remember smoke, he said. I remember your hand slipping. I remember someone hitting me from behind. Elena's breath caught. I woke up 3 days later, he continued. They told me you were dead. And you believed them. His jaw tightened. I was 9. The same words she had thrown at him earlier came back between them. Only now they sounded different. Not an excuse. A wound. Elena looked down. The anger inside her did not disappear. It changed shape, became grief. Because they had both been children. Both lied to. Both used by people who called it protection. A sudden crackle came from the surveillance speakers. Everyone turned. One of the screens flickered. The image changed from the estate camera feed to a man sitting in darkness. Elena could see only part of his face. Older, silver hair, expensive suit, one hand resting on the head of a cane. Luca went utterly still. Matteo lifted his gun toward the screen, as if instinct forgot glass and distance. The man smiled. Luca, he said. Still hard to kill, I see. Luca's voice was ice. Varric. Elena's puls. Thondala. The man's eyes shifted toward the camera, and somehow impossibly, she felt him looking directly at her. And there she is. His smile widened. The little ghost. Luca stepped in front of Elena. Varric chuckled. You always were predictable when it came to her. What do you want? Luca asked. The key. You'll never touch it. I already have half of what I need. Elena frowned. Half? Varric leaned closer to the camera. Did they tell you, Elena? Did they tell you why the key was hidden in a child's letter? She did not answer. Luca's body was rigid in front of her. Varric continued, savoring every word. Because the vault does not open with the key alone. The bunker went silent. Elena's fingers curled around the edge of the medical table. What else does it need? She asked before Luca could stop her. Varric's eyes gleamed. Blood. The words slid through the room like smoke. Elena's stomach dropped. Varric smiled gently, almost kindly. Your father was clever. He designed his insurance policy around the one thing none of us could forge. Luca's voice came low and lethal. End the call. Matteo moved toward the controls. Wait, Elena said. Luca turned. No. She stepped around him. His hand caught her arm. She looked down at it. Slowly, dangerously, Luca released her. Elena faced the screen. What do you mean, blood? Varric's expression warmed with false affection. You, my dear. The vault opens for Dante Vale's bloodline. Your hand, your pulse, your living body. That is why your mother had to disappear. That is why you were supposed to die. And that is why every man with a debt to me is looking for you now. The room seemed to shrink around her. Elena heard Luca say her name, but it sounded distant. Varric tilted his head. You can hide in Moretti's little fortress for a while. But ask yourself something, Elena. How many people will die because Luca Moretti refuses to let go of the girl he failed to save? Luca's face hardened. Careful. No, Varric said softly. You be careful, because if you keep her, I will burn every place she has ever loved. Elena's heart lurched. The hospital. Mrs. Albright. Her co-workers. Passion. Varric seemed to know exactly where her mind went. His smile deepened. You have 12 hours. Bring Elena to the old church on Ashford Street with the key, alone. Or I start with the emergency room. The screen went black. No one moved. Elena's ears rang. Then the bunker erupted into controlled chaos. Matteo issued orders. Guards moved. Luca's mother spoke rapidly into a phone. Monitors switched feeds. Men prepared for war. Elena stood in the center of it all, numb. 12 hours. The hospital. Her home, messy and miserable as it was, had been destroyed. Now her workplace was next. The ER with flickering lights and broken coffee machines. The nurses who covered for her. The janitor who always saved her. The last blueberry muffin from the vending machine. The old security guard who called her kid even though she was nearly 30. Varric would kill them to get to her. Luca turned toward her. Elena. She stepped back. He stopped immediately. Good. He was learning. You need to let me go, she said. His face went blank. No. You heard him. I heard a dead man speaking too confidently. He'll attack the hospital. I'll protect the hospital. With what? More men? More guns? More explosions? These are sick people, Luca. His eyes burned. Neither are you. But I'm the reason. No. The vault opens with my blood. You are not a key. That's exactly what I am to him. To him, Luca said, voice rough. Not to me. Elena's chest tightened. She wanted to believe him. That was the most dangerous thing in the room. Not the guns. Not the Varrics. Not the blood hidden in old secrets. The most dangerous thing was the part of her that wanted to step closer when she should have run. You don't get to decide that, she whispered. Luca moved toward her slowly. Every step was careful now. Not because of his wound. Because of her. Elena, listen to me. I have listened. To you, to your mother, to Matteo, to a monster on a screen. Everyone has a plan for me. My plan is for you to live. And mine is for innocent people not to die because I'm hiding behind your walls. His eyes flashed. You think surrendering yourself saves them? I think it buys time. It buys Varric access to the one thing he needs. Me. Luca's jaw clenched. She saw the word hurt him. Good. It hurt her too. I will not trade you, he said. Elena laughed, but her eyes burned. You make it sound romantic. It is not romance. No, it's possession. His expression shifted. For a second she thought he would deny it. He did not. Yes, he said. The honesty stole her breath. Luca stepped closer, voice low and brutal. I am not a gentleman, Elena. I will not pretend to be one because it makes the truth easier to swallow. When I saw you on that hospital floor, I felt 22 years of grief turn into hunger. When that text came to your phone, I wanted to tear the city apart street by street. When Varric looked at you through that screen, I decided exactly how he would die. Elena's pulse pounded. That is not something you should say to me. I know. Then why say it? Because everyone has lied to you enough. Silence. His eyes held hers. And because if you stay with me, you need to understand what that means. Her voice dropped. What does it mean? It means no one touches you without losing the hand. No one threatens what you love without losing everything they love. No one uses you as bait, blood, leverage, or memory. He came close enough that she had to tilt her head back. Still, he did not touch her. It means I will protect you in ways that frighten you. Elena's breath trembled. And what if I don't want your protection? His eyes softened, but his voice did not. Then I protect you from a distance while you hate me. There it was. The thing that made him impossible. Not his violence. Not his power. His certainty. Like love for him was not a feeling but a sentence passed on the world. Elena looked away first. Because another second, and she might have broken. Matteo approached carefully. Boss, we have confirmation. Varric's men are moving near the hospital district. Elena's heart seized. How many? Enough, Matteo said. Luca turned. Evacuate quietly. Use a gas leak call. Move staff and patients through the west exits. Put men on every ambulance route. No uniforms, no panic. Matteo nodded. Elena stared at him. You can do that? Luca glanced back at her. Yes. In minutes? Yes. Because you own people. Because people owe me. That's not better. No, he said. But tonight it is useful. She hated that he was right. Again. Matteo's phone rang. He answered. Listened. Then looked at Luca. The hospital administrator refuses to evacuate without official authorization. Elena snatched the phone from his hand. Matteo looked shocked. Luca did not stop her. Who is this? Elena demanded. A nervous male voice crackled through. Who is this? Elena Carter from Emergency. Listen to me very carefully. If you don't begin moving patients from the East Wing in the next 5 minutes, people are going to die. Elena? What are you talking about? Where are you? The police said. The police are useless right now. Call it a gas leak. Electrical failure. I don't care. Move them. I can't just... Yes, you can. You can spend tomorrow explaining why you overreacted, or you can spend tomorrow identifying bodies. Choose. A silence. Then the administrator whispered, Oh my God. 5 minutes, Elena said and ended the call. Matteo stared at her. Luca's mother stared at her. Even Luca looked at her with something dark and proud burning in his eyes. Elena handed the phone back. "What?" Luca's voice was low. "Nothing. No, say it." His mouth curved faintly. "You give orders beautifully. Don't make it weird. It already is." Despite everything, a laugh almost escaped her. Almost. Then the lights flickered. Once. Twice. The bunker screens went black. Matteo cursed. Emergency red lights flooded the room. A mechanical alarm sounded from somewhere deep in the walls. Luca turned sharply. "What happened?" One of the guards shouted from the console. "Internal power cut, not outside. Inside." Luca's eyes went cold. Inside. A traitor. Before anyone could move, the steel door behind them unlocked with a heavy click. Elena's blood turned to ice. Matteo raised his gun. Luca stepped in front of her. The door opened slowly. A man stood in the red emergency light. Not Varric. Not a stranger. One of Luca's guards. The same man who had carried Milo in from Elena's apartment. His gun was aimed directly at Elena. "I'm sorry, boss," he said. Then he fired. The city did not sleep that night. It held its breath. Rain slid down the black windows of the Moretti estate, while men moved through underground corridors with weapons beneath their coats and murder in their eyes. Engines waited cold in the dark. Phones vibrated with silent orders. Maps spread across steel tables. Names were spoken once, then crossed out. Elena stood in the center of it all with dried blood on her sleeve and a child's name burning behind her ribs. Sophie. 7 years old. Missing 2 front teeth. Purple backpack. Always carrying a stuffed rabbit with one button eye. She visited Mrs. Albright every Friday after school and left crayon drawings taped to Elena's apartment door. One of those drawings was still on Elena's refrigerator. A crooked nurse with a cape. Underneath it, in uneven letters, "Miss Elena saves people." Elena pressed both hands against the edge of the table to keep herself upright. Across from her, Luca watched her like every breath she took was something he needed to guard. Where would Varric take her? Elena asked. Matteo placed a city map on the table. Red circles marked old properties, abandoned warehouses, churches, clinics, private clubs. "We're checking every known Varric location." "That's not an answer." "It is the answer we have." Elena looked at Luca. "You know him. Where would he take a child?" Luca's face was carved from shadow. Somewhere symbolic. His mother stood near the wall, silent. Her fingers wrapped around a rosary so tightly her knuckles had gone white. "Ashford," she said. Everyone looked at her. Luca's eyes narrowed. "Why?" She swallowed. "Because that is where Mara was taken." Elena went still. The room seemed to lose oxygen. "My mother was taken to the church?" Luca's mother closed her eyes briefly. "The old church has tunnels beneath it. They connect to the vault chamber. Varric always liked holy places for unholy work." Elena's stomach turned. Luca looked at Matteo. "Teams 1 and 2 move on Ashford. No sirens, no visible approach." Matteo nodded once and began issuing orders. Elena pushed away from the table. "I'm going." "No," Luca said immediately. She turned on him. "Do not start. You are the reason he wants the church opened. And Sophie is the reason I walk in." Luca stepped closer. "He will use that. He already is." "Elena, that little girl is not part of your war." His eyes flashed. "None of you were supposed to be. But we are." Silence cut between them. Elena's voice lowered. "You said rescue first." Luca's jaw flexed. "I did. Then rescue her." For one long moment, he only looked at her. Then something in him changed. Not surrender. Calculation. Acceptance. He turned to Matteo. "Prepare her." Matteo looked as if he wanted to argue, but one glance at Luca ended it. Elena did not move. "Prepare me for what?" Luca's eyes held hers. "To survive walking into hell." 23 minutes later, Elena was in the back of a black SUV wearing a bulletproof vest beneath a dark coat 2 sizes too large. Milo had been left with Luca's mother in the secure room, which Elena hated almost as much as she appreciated. The map was folded inside her coat. Not the real one. A copy. Luca carried the original. That had been his compromise. Or his lie. Elena was not sure there was a difference anymore. The convoy moved through rain-dark streets without headlights for 2 blocks before splitting into separate directions. Elena rode with Luca and Matteo. No one spoke for the first 10 minutes. The city outside looked unfamiliar. Same streetlights, same wet pavement, same closed diners and empty bus stops. but everything felt sharpened by danger, as if the shadows had faces now. Elena looked at Luca. He sat across from her, one hand pressed lightly to his bandaged ribs, a gun resting against his thigh. His face was pale, but his eyes were alert. Too alert. Fever burned beneath his skin. "You shouldn't be here," she said. His mouth curved without humor. "Neither should you. You are going to collapse. Probably after." "After what?" His gaze lifted. "After Sophie is safe." Elena looked away before he could see what that did to her. Matteo's phone vibrated. He listened, then spoke quietly. "Mrs. Albright is under protection. Hospital evacuation is complete. No casualties." Elena exhaled shakily. For the first time in hours, one piece of the world did not break. Then Matteo's expression changed. "What?" Luca asked. "Celeste was seen entering Ashford 10 minutes ago." Elena's heart jumped. Luca's eyes turned to her. "Remember what I told you. Don't trust her. Do not trust what Varric made her say." Elena looked at him. That was not the same thing. The SUV slowed 2 blocks from Ashford Street. The old church rose beyond a row of dead trees, black against the storm. Its bell tower leaned slightly, broken cross-cutting into the bruised sky. Most of its windows had been boarded for years, but tonight, faint light glowed behind the cracks. Elena's hands went cold. She had never been here. Still, something inside her recognized it. Not memory. Blood. Luca opened the door first. Rain hit his face. Matteo caught his arm. "Boss, let me lead." Luca looked at him. Matteo released him. They moved through an alley behind the church. 2 Moretti men joined them without a word. Somewhere in the darkness, more waited. Elena could feel them, even if she could not see them. At the side entrance, Luca stopped. His voice was low. "Once we go in, you stay behind me." Elena gave him a flat look. He sighed through his nose. "Fine. You stay close enough that I can reach you." "That sounds more realistic." "This is not the time to be difficult. You keep putting me in situations where difficult is my only hobby." For half a second, the corner of his mouth almost moved. Then a child screamed inside the church. Elena's blood froze. "Sophie." She ran before anyone could stop her. Luca cursed and followed. The side door gave way under Matteo's shoulder, and the church swallowed them whole. Inside, the air smelled of mold, dust, candle smoke, and old wood soaked by years of rain. Rows of broken pews stretched toward a cracked altar. Candles burned in clusters along the aisle, throwing gold light over shattered saints. At the altar stood Celeste. Blonde hair damp from rain, green surgical scrubs hidden beneath a long black coat. One hand held the silver key, the other held a gun pointed not at Elena, at herself. Elena stopped. Luca came up beside her, weapon drawn. Matteo and the others spread into the shadows. Then Elena saw Sophie. The little girl sat near the altar steps, wrists loosely tied in front of her, stuffed rabbit clutched beneath one arm. Her face was wet with tears, but she was alive. Elena's knees nearly failed. "Sophie?" she called softly. The child sobbed. "Miss Elena?" Elena took 1 step forward. Celeste lifted the gun higher. Luca's voice cut through the church. "Do not." Celeste laughed, but it shook. "Still giving orders while bleeding through your shirt." Elena looked down. Dark red had spread beneath Luca's coat. He ignored it. Celeste looked at Elena. "Did you bring the map?" "Yes." "Show me." Elena reached slowly into her coat and pulled out the folded copy. Celeste's eyes narrowed. "That isn't the original." Luca's jaw tightened. Elena kept her voice steady. "You don't need the original to save Sophie. You think this is about Sophie? It is to me." Something flickered across Celeste's face. Pine. Envy. Recognition. Then a slow clap echoed from the balcony above. Everyone raised their weapons. Varric stepped into view beneath the broken stained glass, elegant in a dark suit, silver hair perfectly combed, cane in hand. He looked less like a criminal than a senator walking into a private dinner. "Touching," he said. "The lost sisters finally reunited over a kidnapped child." Luca's gun lifted. Varric smiled. "Careful. There are explosives wired beneath the altar, and unlike your mother, I do check whether children are inside before I burn a building." Luca's face went lethal. Elena felt Celeste flinch. "Good. That one landed." Varric descended the side stairs slowly. "Give me the map, Elena." Elena's fingers tightened. "Let Sophie go first. still negotiating like a nurse. Life first, payment after. He tilted his head. Your mother tried that too. Elena's voice shook. Don't talk about her. I knew Mara better than anyone in this room. Celeste turned slightly. You told me she abandoned me. Varric's eyes moved to her. A gentle expression slipped over his face. False. Rotten. I told you what you needed to survive. Celeste's hand trembled around the gun. Elena saw it. So did Luca. Elena. Luca murmured. She knew what he wanted. Wait. Watch. But Sophie whimpered again, and every careful plan inside Elena's head shattered. She stepped forward. Luca caught her wrist. Not to stop her. To anchor her. For 1 second, they looked at each other. She saw everything in his eyes. Fear. Rage. Trust he did not know how to give, but was giving anyway. Then he let go. Elena walked toward the altar. Celeste watched her approach with wide eyes. You shouldn't have come, Celeste whispered. Probably not. You don't know what he'll do. I know what he already did. Celeste swallowed. Elena stopped 3 feet away from her. You are my sister, Elena said quietly. I don't know you. I don't know what you've done. I don't know what lies he used to build you. But I know this, he took both of us from the same mother. Celeste's eyes filled despite her attempt to stop it. Varric's voice sharpened. Celeste! She flinched. Elena saw the control, the invisible leash, and suddenly she understood. Celeste was not standing beside Varric because she was loyal. She was standing there because no one had ever shown her an exit. Elena lowered the map. Give me Sophie. Celeste's gaze dropped to the child. Sophie was crying silently now, too frightened to move. Celeste's face twisted. Then she whispered, I'm sorry. Before Elena could ask what she meant, Celeste turned and fired at the floor. The shot shattered the lock on Sophie's bindings. Chaos erupted. Luca moved first, firing toward the balcony as Varric disappeared behind stone. Matteo lunged for Sophie. Moretti men surged from the side aisles. Varric's gunmen emerged from behind confession booths and broken pillars. The church exploded into violence. Elena dropped to the floor as bullets tore through pews above her. Wood splintered across her face. Sophie screamed. Matteo grabbed the child and dragged her behind the altar. Celeste seized Elena's coat and pulled her behind a stone column. Stay down, Celeste snapped. Elena stared at her. You helped her. Celeste reloaded with shaking hands. Don't make me regret it. A bullet struck the column, spraying dust into their hair. Across the aisle, Luca fought like a wounded animal refusing death. He moved through gunfire with terrifying precision, shooting one man, disarming another, driving a third into a pew hard enough to break it. Blood soaked through his bandages, but he did not slow. Then Varric appeared behind him. Elena saw the gun rise. Luca. Luca turned too late. Celeste fired. The bullet hit Varric's shoulder. He staggered back, eyes wide not with pain but betrayal. Celeste, he breathed. Her face crumpled for 1 second. Then hardened. You lied. Varric's expression changed. The mask fell. What remained was pure cruelty. I raised you. You caged me. I made you useful. Elena grabbed Celeste's arm. Move. Too late. Varric pressed something in his hand. A detonator. The floor beneath the altar groaned. Luca shouted, Out! Matteo lifted Sophie into his arms and ran toward the side door. Moretti men covered him. Elena pulled Celeste with her, but Celeste froze, staring at Varric. He'll trigger the tunnels, Celeste said. The vault entrance will collapse. I don't care about the vault. You should. Celeste looked at her, eyes wild. There are names inside. Judges, police, hospitals, foster agencies. The people who kept you hidden. The people who sold me. Elena stopped. Another charge exploded below. The church shook. Stained glass rained down in colored shards. Luca appeared through smoke and grabbed Elena with one hand, Celeste with the other. We leave now. Celeste tried to pull back. The vault. Luca's voice was brutal. Living first. Elena looked at him. Rescue first. War after. Together they ran. The aisle collapsed behind them in a burst of flame and dust. Heat punched through the church. Someone screamed. Luca shoved Elena through the side door into the rain, then pushed Celeste after her. Matteo was already outside with Sophie in his arms. The little girl was alive. Sobbing. Terrified. Alive. Elena stumbled toward her, falling to her knees in the mud. Sophie. The child reached for her, and Elena wrapped her arms around her so tightly both of them cried. "I'm sorry," Elena whispered. "I'm so sorry." Sophie clung to her. "I want Grandma. You'll see her, I promise." Luca stood over them in the rain, gun still raised, scanning the burning church. Then Celeste screamed. Elena looked up. Varric had emerged from the smoke behind Luca, blood pouring down one arm, gun aimed at his back. For a heartbeat no one moved. Then Luca turned. Varric fired. Celeste threw herself forward. The bullet struck her instead. Elena screamed her sister's name as Celeste collapsed onto the wet stone steps. Luca shot Varric twice. The old man fell backward into the smoke. Not dead. Not yet. But gone from sight as part of the church roof collapsed behind him in a roar of fire. Elena crawled to Celeste, hands shaking, nurse instincts, fighting panic. "No, no, no. Look at me." Celeste gasped, blood spreading beneath her coat. Luca dropped beside them, pressing his hand over the wound. Elena ripped open Celeste's coat. "Pressure, keep pressure." "I am. Harder." Celeste laughed weakly, then coughed. "You boss him around too?" Elena's tears fell before she could stop them. "Don't talk." Celeste's eyes found hers. For the first time they looked young, terribly young. "I didn't know," she whispered. "About you, about Mara. I didn't know what was true. I know. I wanted to hate you. That's okay." Celeste's lips trembled. "I don't think I do." Elena pressed harder on the wound. "Then stay alive and decide later." Matteo shouted from the SUV. "We need to move." Luca lifted Celeste carefully, despite his own bleeding. His face had gone gray with pain, but he held her like she weighed nothing. Elena carried Sophie beside him through the rain. Behind them, the old church burned. The place that had swallowed their mother's secrets. The place that had nearly taken a child. The place that had turned two lost sisters into something neither of them knew how to name yet. As they reached the SUV, a final explosion tore through the bell tower. The cross fell into the flames. Elena looked back once. Through the smoke, near the broken entrance to the underground tunnels, she saw Varric standing. Burned, bleeding, smiling. In his hand was the original map. Elena's heart stopped. Luca saw him too. Their eyes met across fire and rain. Varric lifted 2 fingers to his mouth and blew Elena a kiss. Then the tunnel wall collapsed between them, swallowing him into darkness. The city did not sleep that night. It held its breath. Rain slid down the black windows of the Moretti estate, while men moved through underground corridors with weapons beneath their coats and murder in their eyes. Engines waited cold in the dark. Phones vibrated with silent orders. Maps spread across steel tables. Names were spoken once, then crossed out. Elena stood in the center of it all with dried blood on her sleeve and a child's name burning behind her ribs. Sophie. 7 years old, missing 2 front teeth. Purple backpack, always carrying a stuffed rabbit with one button eye. She visited Mrs. Albright every Friday after school and left crayon drawings taped to Elena's apartment door. One of those drawings was still on Elena's refrigerator, a crooked nurse with a cape. Underneath it, in uneven letters, "Miss Elena saves people." Elena pressed both hands against the edge of the table to keep herself upright. Across from her, Luca watched her like every breath she took was something he needed to guard. "Where would Varric take her?" Elena asked. Matteo placed a city map on the table. Red circles marked old properties, abandoned warehouses, churches, clinics, private clubs. "We're checking every known Varric location." "That's not an answer. It is the answer we have." Elena looked at Luca. "You know him. Where would he take a child?" Luca's face was carved from shadow, somewhere symbolic. His mother stood near the wall, silent, her fingers wrapped around a rosary so tightly her knuckles had gone white. "Ashford," she said. Everyone looked at her. Luca's eyes narrowed. "Why?" She swallowed. "Because that is where Mara was taken." Elena went still. The room seemed to lose oxygen. "My mother was taken to the church?" Luca's mother closed her eyes briefly. "The old church has tunnels beneath it. They connect to the vault chamber. Varric always liked holy places for unholy work." Elena's stomach turned. Luca looked at Matteo. "Teams 1 and 2 move on Ashford. No sirens, no visible approach." Matteo nodded once and began issuing orders. Elena pushed away from the table. "I'm going." "No," Luca said immediately. She turned on him. "Do not start. You are the reason he wants the church opened." And Sophie is the reason I walk in. Luca stepped closer. He will use that. He already is. Elena, that little girl is not part of your war. His eyes flashed. None of you were supposed to be. But we are. Silence cut between them. Elena's voice lowered. You said rescue first. Luca's jaw flexed. I did. Then rescue her. For one long moment, he only looked at her. Then something in him changed. Not surrender. Calculation. Acceptance. He turned to Matteo. Prepare her. Matteo looked as if he wanted to argue. But one glance at Luca ended it. Elena did not move. Prepare me for what? Luca's eyes held hers. To survive walking into hell. 23 minutes later, Elena was in the back of a black SUV wearing a bulletproof vest beneath a dark coat 2 sizes too large. Milo had been left with Luca's mother in the secure room, which Elena hated almost as much as she appreciated. The map was folded inside her coat. Not the real one. A copy. Luca carried the original. That had been his compromise. Or his lie. Elena was not sure there was a difference anymore. The convoy moved through rain-dark streets without headlights for 2 blocks before splitting into separate directions. Elena rode with Luca and Matteo. No one spoke for the first 10 minutes. The city outside looked unfamiliar. Same streetlights, same wet pavement, same closed diners and empty bus stops. But everything felt sharpened by danger, as if the shadows had faces now. Elena looked at Luca. He sat across from her, one hand pressed lightly to his bandaged ribs, a gun resting against his thigh. His face was pale, but his eyes were alert, too alert. Fever burned beneath his skin. You shouldn't be here, she said, his mouth curved without humor. Neither should you. You are going to collapse. Probably after. After what? His gaze lifted. After Sophie is safe. Elena looked away before he could see what that did to her. Matteo's phone vibrated. He listened, then spoke quietly. Mrs. Albright is under protection. Hospital evacuation is complete. No casualties. Elena exhaled shakily. For the first time in hours, one piece of the world did not break. Then Matteo's expression changed. What? Luca asked. Celeste was seen entering Ashford 10 minutes ago. Elena's heart jumped. Luca's eyes turned to her. Remember what I told you. Don't trust her. Do not trust what Varick made her say. Elena looked at him. That was not the same thing. The SUV slowed 2 blocks from Ashford Street. The old church rose beyond a row of dead trees, black against the storm. Its bell tower leaned slightly, broken cross cutting into the bruised sky. Most of its windows had been boarded for years, but tonight, faint light glowed behind the cracks. Elena's hands went cold. She had never been here. Still, something inside her recognized it. Not memory. Blood. Luca opened the door first. Rain hit his face. Matteo caught his arm. Boss, let me lead. Luca looked at him. Matteo released him. They moved through an alley behind the church. 2 Moretti men joined them without a word. Somewhere in the darkness more waited. Elena could feel them even if she could not see them. At the side entrance, Luca stopped. His voice was low. Once we go in, you stay behind me. Elena gave him a flat look. He sighed through his nose. Fine. You stay close enough that I can reach you. That sounds more realistic. This is not the time to be difficult. You keep putting me in situations where difficult is my only hobby. For half a second, the corner of his mouth almost moved. Then a child screamed inside the church. Elena's blood froze. Sophie. She ran before anyone could stop her. Luca cursed and followed. The side door gave way under Matteo's shoulder, and the church swallowed them whole. Inside, the air smelled of mold, dust, candle smoke, and old wood soaked by years of rain. Rows of broken pews stretched toward a cracked altar. Candles burned in clusters along the aisle, throwing gold light over shattered saints. At the altar stood Celeste. Blonde hair damp from rain, green surgical scrubs hidden beneath a long black coat. One hand held the silver key, the other held a gun, pointed not at Elena, at herself. Elena stopped. Luca came up beside her, weapon drawn. Matteo and the others spread into the shadows. Then Elena saw Sophie. The little girl sat near the altar steps, wrists loosely tied in front of her. Stuffed rabbit clutched beneath one arm. Her face was wet with tears, but she was alive. Elena's knees nearly failed. Sophie, she called softly. The child sobbed. Miss Elena? Elena took one step forward. Celeste lifted the gun higher. Luca's voice cut through the church. Do not. Celeste laughed, but it shook. Still giving orders while bleeding through your shirt. Elena looked down. Dark red had spread beneath Luca's coat. He ignored it. Celeste looked at Elena. Did you bring the map? Yes. Show me. Elena reached slowly into her coat and pulled out the folded copy. Celeste's eyes narrowed. That isn't the original. Luca's jaw tightened. Elena kept her voice steady. You don't need the original to save Sophie. You think this is about Sophie? It is to me. Something flickered across Celeste's face. Pine. Envy. Recognition. Then a slow clap echoed from the balcony above. Everyone raised their weapons. Varric stepped into view beneath the broken stained glass, elegant in a dark suit, silver hair perfectly combed, cane in hand. He looked less like a criminal than a senator walking into a private dinner. Touching, he said. The lost sisters, finally reunited over a kidnapped child. Luca's gun lifted. Varric smiled. Careful. There are explosives wired beneath the altar, and unlike your mother, I do check whether children are inside before I burn a building. Luca's face went lethal. Elena felt Celeste flinch. Good. That one landed. Varric descended the side stairs slowly. Give me the map, Elena. Elena's fingers tightened. Let Sophie go first. Still negotiating like a nurse. Life first, payment after. He tilted his head. Your mother tried that too. Elena's voice shook. Don't talk about her. I knew Mara better than anyone in this room. Celeste turned slightly. You told me she abandoned me. Varric's eyes moved to her. A gentle expression slipped over his face. False. Rotten. I told you what you needed to survive. Celeste's hand trembled around the gun. Elena saw it. So did Luca. Elena, Luca murmured. She knew what he wanted. Wait. Watch. But Sophie whimpered again, and every careful plan inside Elena's head shattered. She stepped forward. Luca caught her wrist. Not to stop her. To anchor her. For 1 second, they looked at each other. She saw everything in his eyes. Fear. Rage. Trust he did not know how to give, but was giving anyway. Then he let go. Elena walked toward the altar. Celeste watched her approach with wide eyes. You shouldn't have come, Celeste whispered. Probably not. You don't know what he'll do. I know what he already did. Celeste swallowed. Elena stopped 3 feet away from her. You are my sister, Elena said quietly. I don't know you. I don't know what you've done. I don't know what lies he used to build you. But I know this: he took both of us from the same mother. Celeste's eyes filled despite her attempt to stop it. Varric's voice sharpened. Celeste. She flinched. Elena saw the control. The invisible leash. And suddenly she understood. Celeste was not standing beside Varric because she was loyal. She was standing there because no one had ever shown her an exit. Elena lowered the map. Give me Sophie. Celeste's gaze dropped to the child. Sophie was crying silently now, too frightened to move. Celeste's face twisted. Then she whispered, I'm sorry. Before Elena could ask what she meant, Celeste turned and fired at the floor. The shot shattered the lock on Sophie's bindings. Chaos erupted. Luca moved first, firing toward the balcony as Varric disappeared behind stone. Matteo lunged for Sophie. Moretti men surged from the side aisles. Varric's gunmen emerged from behind confession booths and broken pillars. The church exploded into violence. Elena dropped to the floor as bullets tore through pews above her. Wood splintered across her face. Sophie screamed. Matteo grabbed the child and dragged her behind the altar. Celeste seized Elena's coat and pulled her behind a stone column. Stay down, Celeste snapped. Elena stared at her. You helped her. Celeste reloaded with shaking hands. Don't make me regret it. A bullet struck the column, spraying dust into their hair. Across the aisle, Luca fought like a wounded animal refusing death. He moved through gunfire with terrifying precision, shooting one man, disarming another, driving a third into a pew hard enough to break it. Blood soaked through his bandages, but he did not slow. Then Varric appeared behind him. Elena saw the gun rise. Luca. Luca turned too late. Celeste fired. The bullet hit Varric's shoulder. He staggered back, eyes wide, not with pain, but betrayal. Celeste, he breathed. Her face crumpled for 1 second, then hardened. You lied. Varric's expression changed. The mask fell. What remained was pure cruelty. I raised you. You caged me. I made you useful. Elena grabbed Celeste's arm. Move. Too late. Varric pressed something in his hand. A detonator. The floor beneath the altar groaned. Luca shouted, out! Matteo lifted Sophie into his arms and ran toward the side door. Moretti men covered him. Elena pulled Celeste with her, but Celeste froze, staring at Varric. He'll trigger the tunnels, Celeste said. The vault entrance will collapse. I don't care about the vault. You should. Celeste looked at her, eyes wild. There are names inside. Judges, police, hospitals, foster agencies. The people who kept you hidden. The people who sold me. Elena stopped. Another charge exploded below. The church shook. Stained glass rained down in colored shards. Luca appeared through smoke and grabbed Elena with one hand, Celeste with the other. We leave now. Celeste tried to pull back. The vault. Luca's voice was brutal. Living first. Elena looked at him. Rescue first. War after. Together they ran. The aisle collapsed behind them in a burst of flame and dust. Heat punched through the church. Someone screamed. Luca shoved Elena through the side door into the rain, then pushed Celeste after her. Matteo was already outside with Sophie in his arms. The little girl was alive. Sobbing. Terrified. Alive. Elena stumbled toward her, falling to her knees in the mud. Sophie. The child reached for her, and Elena wrapped her arms around her so tightly, both of them cried. I'm sorry, Elena whispered. I'm so sorry. Sophie clung to her. I want Grandma. You'll not leave her, I promise. Luca stood over them in the rain, gun still raised, scanning the burning church. Then Celeste screamed. Elena looked up. Varric had emerged from the smoke behind Luca, blood pouring down one arm, gun aimed at his back. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Luca turned. Varric fired. Celeste threw herself forward. The bullet struck her instead. Elena screamed her sister's name as Celeste collapsed onto the wet stone steps. Luca shot Varric twice. The old man fell backward into the smoke. Not dead. Not yet. But gone from sight as part of the church roof collapsed behind him in a roar of fire. Elena crawled to Celeste, hands shaking, nurse instincts fighting panic. No, no, no. Look at me. Celeste gasped, blood spreading beneath her coat. Luca dropped beside them, pressing his hand over the wound. Elena ripped open Celeste's coat. Pressure, keep pressure. I am. Harder. Celeste laughed weakly, then coughed. You boss him around too? Elena's tears fell before she could stop them. Don't talk. Celeste's eyes found hers. For the first time they looked young. Terribly young. I didn't know, she whispered. About you. About Mara. I didn't know what was true. I know. I wanted to hate you. That's okay. Celeste's lips trembled. I don't think I do. Elena pressed harder on the wound. Then stay alive and decide later. Matteo shouted from the SUV. We need to move. Luca lifted Celeste carefully despite his own bleeding. His face had gone gray with pain, but he held her like she weighed nothing. Elena carried Sophie beside him through the rain. Behind them, the old church burned. The place that had swallowed their mother's secrets. The place that had nearly taken a child. The place that had turned two lost sisters into something neither of them knew how to name yet. As they reached the SUV, a final explosion tore through the bell tower. The cross fell into the flames. Elena looked back once. Through the smoke, near the broken entrance to the underground tunnels, she saw Varric standing. Burned. Bleeding. Smiling. In his hand was the original map. Elena's heart stopped. Luca saw him too. Their eyes met across fire and rain. Varric lifted 2 fingers to his mouth and blew Elena a kiss. Then the tunnel wall collapsed between them, swallowing him into darkness. Celeste survived the first hour because Elena refused to let her die. She worked in the back of the moving SUV with blood on her hands, rain in her hair, and Luca Moretti bleeding silently beside her as if his body had not already been pushed past every human limit. Hold the pressure here, Elena ordered. Luca obeyed instantly. Celeste's eyes flickered weakly toward him. The terrifying Mafia king takes orders from a nurse. Elena tightened the bandage around her sister's wound. Save your sarcasm for when you're not actively bleeding through my coat. Celeste's mouth twitched. Then pain dragged her under again. Sophie sat curled against Matteo in the front passenger seat, wrapped in a blanket, silent except for soft, broken breaths. Every few seconds, Elena looked at her to make sure she was still there. Still breathing, still alive. The old church disappeared behind them in smoke and rain. But the real horror had not ended there. Varric had escaped, and he had the original map. By the time they reached the Moretti estate, the house had transformed into something between a fortress and a hospital. Doctors loyal to Luca moved through the underground level. Guards lined every corridor. Mrs. Albright arrived 20 minutes later, sobbing as she took Sophie into her arms and refused to let go. Elena watched them from the doorway. The little girl was safe. That should have been enough to make her knees give out. Instead, something colder settled inside her. Varric had taken a child to force her hand. He had used her sister as a weapon. He had turned her mother's death into leverage, her father's sacrifice into bait, and her entire life into a locked door he wanted to open. Elena had spent years surviving quietly. Now quiet felt like another kind of cage. Behind her, Luca leaned against the wall, pale and bandaged again, watching her in silence. "You should be lying down," she said without turning. "So should you. I'm not the one who reopened 3 wounds tonight." "No," Luca said softly. "You only opened a war." Elena turned then. His face was unreadable, but his eyes were not. They held exhaustion, pain, hunger for revenge, and something else beneath all of it. Fear. Not of Varric. For here. Elena looked back toward the room where Sophie was crying against her grandmother. "Good," she said. Luca went still. Elena faced him fully. Her scrubs were ruined. Her coat was stained with Celeste's blood. A bruise darkened one side of her jaw where she had hit the church floor. She looked nothing like a queen. Nothing like the kind of woman who belonged in a Mafia estate beneath chandeliers and armed guards. But when she spoke, every man in the hallway listened. "I am done being protected from the truth. I am done being moved from room to room while everyone else decides what happens next. Varric wants the vault. He wants my blood. He wants to erase everyone who can expose him." Her voice steadied. "So we expose him first." Matteo, standing nearby, lifted his eyes. Luca did not speak. Elena stepped closer. "You said rescue first, war after." His gaze sharpened. "I remember. Then this is after." For a long moment, Luca only looked at her. Then something like pride moved across his face. Dark, fierce, possessive, yes, but no longer dismissive. He turned to Matteo. "Bring me everything we have on Varric Holdings. Judges, banks, police contacts, hospitals, foster agencies. Anything connected to Dante Vale, Mara Vale, or Ashford Street." Matteo nodded. "And the men?" Luca's eyes stayed on Elena. "Put them under her command." The hallway went silent. Elena's breath caught. Matteo blinked once. "Boss? You heard me." Elena stared at Luca. "What are you doing?" "What I should have done the moment you walked into my house." His voice lowered. "I am not hiding you behind my power anymore." He stepped closer, slow enough that she could move away if she wanted. She did not. "I am putting it in your hands." The words struck harder than any confession. Elena searched his face for manipulation, for strategy, for the same dangerous instinct to control dressed up as trust. But Luca looked raw, wounded in ways blood could not explain. "You trust me," she whispered. His eyes darkened. "No." Her heart twisted. Then he continued. "I believe in you. Trust is too small a word." Elena looked away before her face betrayed her. Matteo cleared his throat carefully. "Then we need to move fast. If Varric reaches the vault first, he controls the evidence." Celeste's weak voice came from the room behind them. "He won't." Everyone turned. She stood in the doorway, one hand pressed to her bandaged side, face pale as death, but eyes burning with a familiar fire that made Elena's chest ache. "You should be unconscious," Elena snapped. Celeste looked at Luca. "Does she always talk to wounded people like they are personally offending her?" "Yes," Luca said. "It works," Matteo added. Elena crossed to Celeste and took her arm. "Back to bed." Celeste gripped her wrist. "Not hard. Just enough. I know where the vault is." The hallway went silent again. Luca's expression sharpened. Celeste looked at him, then at Elena. "Varric never trusted the map alone. He taught me the route when I was 17, said one day I might need to protect the family legacy." Bitterness twisted her mouth. He meant his crimes. Elena's pulse climbed. "Can you take us there?" Celeste looked down at her hand on Elena's wrist. For the first time, she looked afraid. "If I do, there is no going back." Elena's voice softened. You already came back when you took that bullet. Celeste's eyes shimmered. She let go. 2 hours later, Elena walked beneath the city, with Luca on one side and Celeste on the other. The tunnel beneath Ashford smelled of wet stone, rust, and old secrets. Matteo and 6 Moretti men followed behind them, silent and armed. Above them, police scanners crackled with false reports. Varick's people were moving in the open now, desperate and sloppy. He thought he had won because he held the original map. He did not know the map was useless without Elena. He did not know Celeste had chosen blood over training. He did not know Luca Moretti had finally stopped making decisions for the woman he loved. The vault door stood beneath what used to be the old church crypt. It was made of black steel and older than anything around it. No handle, no visible lock, only a narrow silver plate at the center. Bloodline access. Elena stared at it. All her life, she had wondered why she had been left behind. Now the answer stood in front of her like a tomb. Luca came close, but did not touch her. You do not have to do this. Elena almost laughed, but there was no humor left in her. Yes, she said, I do. Celeste took her other side. We do. Elena looked at her sister. They had no childhood together. No shared bedrooms, no whispered secrets, no birthdays, no fights over stolen sweaters, no memories that sisters were supposed to have. Only fire, only lies, only blood. But when Celeste reached for her hand, Elena took it. Together, they placed their palms against the silver plate. The vault awakened beneath their skin. A low mechanical hum moved through the tunnel. The steel door unlocked. Behind it was not gold, not weapons, not cash. Files. Hundreds of them. Hard drives, ledgers, photographs, sealed evidence bags. Names written on labels that could destroy judges, senators, police chiefs, hospital directors, foster agency heads, businessmen, and every polished monster who had helped Varick turn children into collateral. Elena stepped inside. Her father had not died protecting money. He had died protecting the truth. Celeste covered her mouth with one shaking hand. Luca turned to Matteo. Copy everything. Upload to every source we prepared. Federal channels, press, internal networks, all of it. Matteo nodded. Done. Then a slow clap echoed from the tunnel behind them. Varick stepped from the shadows, burned along one side of his face, original map in one hand, gun in the other. Touching, he said, Dante's daughters, finishing his suicide note. Luca moved in front of Elena. Elena stepped around him. This time he led her. Varick smiled at her. You think evidence saves people? Evidence disappears. Witnesses die. Files burn. Elena looked at him. For the first time, she felt no fear. You're right, she said. Files burn. His smile faded. Elena lifted the small transmitter Matteo had given her. But live broadcasts don't. Varick's eyes flicked upward. A red light blinked from Matteo's camera feed. Everything inside the vault had been streaming for 7 minutes. His confession, his face, his gun, his threat, all of it, to federal servers, to journalists, to men even Varick could not buy fast enough. Luca's smile was faint and merciless. Varick's hand tightened on the gun. Celeste stepped beside Elena. Put it down, Celeste said. Varick looked at her with disgust. Ungrateful girl. Celeste's voice broke, but she did not move. No, I am Maravale's daughter. Elena gripped her hand tighter. Varick raised the gun. Luca fired once. The shot struck Varick's wrist. The gun fell. Matteo's men surged forward, dragging Varick to his knees. He shouted threats. Names. Money. Power. But the tunnel no longer belonged to him. Neither did the girls he had tried to turn into ghosts. Elena stood above him, trembling, alive, and watched the man who had haunted her life finally look afraid. Luca came to her side. This time, when his hand brushed hers, she did not pull away. Above them, sirens began to scream across the city. Not for Luca, not for Elena, for the empire that was finally burning. Varick was still shouting when they dragged him out of the vault. Even on his knees, burned and bleeding, he tried to sound like a king. He named judges, senators, police chiefs, men who had eaten at his table and kissed his ring in private rooms. He promised money, protection, revenge. He promised death. But for the first time in his life, no one in the tunnel looked afraid of him. Elena stood beside Celeste, their hands still locked together, watching the monster who had shaped both their lives shrink beneath the weight of his own exposed sins. Above them, the city was waking. Not gently. Sirens screamed through the rain. Phones across newsrooms lit up with leaked files. Federal agents moved before local police could bury the evidence. Hospital directors, foster agency officials, court clerks, and men in expensive houses all discovered at once that secrets did not stay buried forever. Dante Vale's vault had opened, and the ghosts inside it had teeth. Luca stayed near Elena without touching her. That was how she knew he was changing. Not because he had become gentle overnight. Men like Luca Moretti did not transform into something harmless simply because love found the wound beneath the armor. He was still dangerous, still blood-soaked, still terrifyingly capable of ruining anyone who threatened what he loved. But now, when Elena moved, he let her move. When she stepped toward Varric, he did not pull her back. He only watched, jaw tight, eyes burning, ready to become violence if she needed him to. Varric looked up at her. For 1 second, Elena saw the man beneath the power. Old. Afraid. Furious that the girl who should have died in fire had grown into the woman standing above him. "You think this ends anything?" he hissed. "You think truth fixes what was done to you?" Elena looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "No." His smile twitched. "But it ends you." The smile died. Celeste's fingers tightened around hers. Elena turned away first. Not because Varric deserved mercy, because he no longer deserved her attention. By dawn, the rain had stopped. The sky over the Moretti estate softened into pale gray, then gold. For the first time since Elena had walked through its doors, the house did not feel like a fortress waiting for war. It felt exhausted, like everyone inside had survived something and did not yet know what living after it meant. Sophie slept on a couch beneath 3 blankets, one hand still clutching her stuffed rabbit. Mrs. Albright sat beside her, whispering prayers and stroking her hair. Milo had claimed the back of a velvet chair like a tiny gray tyrant and refused to forgive anyone. Celeste slept in the medical room after Elena threatened to sedate her if she tried standing again. Matteo stood outside the door like a guard dog with guilt issues. And Luca sat in the library, shirt open, bandages fresh, face pale, refusing to sleep until Elena did. She found him there, just after sunrise. The room smelled of leather, old books, antiseptic, and rain-damp stone. Luca looked up when she entered. For once, he did not command the room. He simply looked tired. Human. "Elena," he said quietly. She leaned against the doorway. "You need rest. So do you. I am not currently held together by stitches and arrogance." His mouth curved faintly. "Mostly stitches now." She should not have smiled. She did anyway. The silence that followed was softer than all the others before it. No gunfire. No alarms. No blood on the floor between them. Just 2 people who had been children once, then ghosts, then survivors. Elena walked to the window. Outside, morning light touched the wet garden. The flowers beyond the glass were bent from the storm, but not broken. "I used to think about that garden," she said. Luca did not answer immediately. Then softly, "Blue shutters." Her chest tightened. "And a house where nothing bad could reach us." He looked down at his hands. "I was a child when I promised that. I know. I could not build it." "No," Elena said. "You built walls instead." The words hurt him. She saw it. But he nodded. "Yes." Elena turned from the window. "I don't know what happens now." Luca's eyes lifted to hers. There was no demand in them. No ownership. Only the terrible restraint of a man who wanted to hold on and knew that love, if it was real, could not be a cage. "I do," he said. Her breath caught. He stood slowly, pain tightening his face, but he did not come closer. "You go wherever you want. Back to the hospital, to another city, to a life with your sister. Without me, if that is what gives you peace." Elena stared at him. "And you?" His voice roughened. "I make sure no one follows." For one dangerous second the old anger rose again. The need to tell him she did not need a shadow, did not need a guard, did not need his blood-soaked devotion watching from rooftops and black cars. But then she saw his face. He was not asking to own her. He was offering the only love he knew how to give without taking anything back. Elena crossed the room slowly. Luca went still. She stopped in front of him, close enough to see the exhaustion beneath his eyes. "I don't forgive everything," she whispered. I know. I don't know if I can love the man you became. His jaw tightened, but he accepted the blow. I know. Her eyes burned. But I loved the boy who held my hand in the fire. Something broke across Luca's face. Small, silent, devastating. Elena reached up and touched the scar near his eyebrow. And maybe, she said, voice trembling, I need time to learn what parts of him survived. Luca closed his eyes. For a moment he looked like breathing hurt. When he opened them again, they were wet. Not with weakness. With 22 years of grief finally finding somewhere to go. I will wait, he said. Elena gave a broken little laugh. You're not known for patience. No. Or emotional health. No. Or reasonable conflict resolution. His mouth curved. Also no. She shook her head, and this time the tears fell. Luca did not touch her until she stepped into him. Then his arms came around her carefully, as if she were something sacred and breakable, though they both knew she was not. Elena pressed her face against his chest, listening to the unsteady beat of his heart beneath bandages and bruises. Alive. He was alive. So was she. So was Celeste. So was the little girl sleeping downstairs. For now, that was enough. Weeks later, the city was still burning in a different way. Not with fire. With exposure. Arrests spread across the state. Officials resigned before they were dragged out. News anchors repeated Danteval's name until he was no longer a traitor in a forgotten file but a man who had died trying to tell the truth. Maravel's photograph appeared beside his. For the first time in Elena's life, her parents had faces the world could see. Celeste moved into the guest wing and pretended it was temporary. Elena pretended to believe her. They fought over coffee, medical instructions, and whether emotional trauma excused stealing Elena's sweaters. It was not sisterhood the way movies imagined it. It was awkward, sharp-edged, fragile, real. And every Friday, Sophie came to visit Mrs. Albright at the estate gates, guarded discreetly by men who looked terrifying and carried her art supplies like sacred objects. One afternoon, Elena found Luca in the garden. He stood near a row of newly planted blue hydrangeas, speaking quietly with a contractor. On the table beside him lay paint samples. Blue ones. Elena stopped walking. Luca noticed. Of course he did. The contractor disappeared after one look from him. Elena picked up one of the samples. Blue shutters? Luca's expression gave nothing away. I was considering renovations. To your stone Mafia cathedral? It lacks warmth. It lacks several things. His eyes softened. Tell me what else. Elena looked at him. The wind moved gently through the garden. Sunlight touched his face, revealing the scar near his eyebrow, the shadows beneath his eyes, the man and the boy tangled together. She set the paint sample down. No cages, she said. Luca nodded once. No cages. No orders disguised as protection. Understood. No using my cat as leverage. A pause. That was effective. Luca. Never again. She tried not to smile and failed. His gaze dropped to her mouth, then lifted again, waiting. Always waiting now. Elena stepped closer and took his hand. His fingers closed around hers slowly, carefully, like he still could not believe she had chosen it. In the distance, Celeste shouted at Matteo for hovering outside her window like a tragic security gargoyle. Sophie laughed somewhere near the fountain. Milo stalked across the grass with the confidence of a creature who believed he owned the entire Moretti empire. Elena looked at the garden, then at Luca. For the first time, the memory of fire did not come first. Something else did. A boy's promise. A woman's survival. A future not clean, not simple, not innocent, but theirs to build. Luca brushed his thumb over her hand. Are you staying? He asked quietly. Elena looked toward the house with its dark walls and morning-lit windows. Then she looked back at him. For today, she said. His eyes warmed. That was enough. For Luca Moretti, who had built an empire out of grief, today was more mercy than he had ever expected. For Elena Carter, who had spent her life believing no one came back, today was the beginning of learning that some promises arrived late. Wounded. Dangerous. Covered in blood and rain. But still alive. Still waiting at the edge of the fire. Holding out a hand,